Hey folks, it's Ted here. I'm in the Drive Lab and I'm working on a 1983 Johnson 7.5 horsepower. Lower unit, simple water pump change I was going to do. You know, part number for the water pump for this is 396644, a true Bombardier Evinrude part. I've already pulled the case apart, and if you've noticed from the video already, there's something missing here. That's the vertical drive shaft. So when I went to take the lower unit off, it was frozen, and the drive shaft's frozen in the power head. Now with these lower units, what's nice is the vertical drive shaft is splined into the pinion gear. So I'm hopeful that I can get the drive shaft out of the crankshaft. We're gonna find that out. I've got an idea on how to get it out. And then I could drop it back in here, wiggle it around, and get it to line up with the splines in the pinion gear. The only thing I have to really do is fish out the key, and the key probably is inside the housing, because when the drive shaft came out, it pulled the key through the cup. So as you can see, the center of that cup in there's a couple of indentations. Well, I pulled the key all the way through it. So that makes me pretty sure that the key is a steel key. It's usually a round, basically a round cylinder piece, and it tore its way all the way through the metal housing. And the impeller wasn't that bad, but he said it overheated. So we got a thermostat for it too, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna go and pull that vertical drive shaft out of the crankshaft. Now, most of the time, what happens is the vertical drive shaft goes into the pinion gear, and then there's a nut that holds it in place. So in the larger outboards, there's always a nut, and that holds the pinion gear onto the vertical drive shaft that goes in the power head. If it gets stuck in the power head and the crankshaft splines, if it's frozen in there because the seal fails up inside the midsection, then pretty much you're done. You cannot get the vertical drive shaft out. I've hung outboards upside down, 200 horsepower for weeks on end, spraying penetrant, trying to drive them down. I've tried wooden wedges and all kinds of things, and then what happens usually is the housing fails, the drive shaft rips through the lower unit, and it breaks the housing, and that's usually what you end up doing to the lower unit, which means you can't get the drive shaft out of the flywheel anyway, because if you do try to slam it out, you're probably gonna break something, maybe a bearing on the upper power head. So this is notorious for boats that are in salt water. It's not as common in fresh water, and the project continues. So let's go see what the other parts look like. All right, so here's the motor. I've got it upside down in a container, supported. Here's the cover. She's an oldie but a goodie. This is a 7.5 Evinrude from 1983. Good compression. I did a compression test about 110 PSI. You can see it's been in salt water. There's a little corrosion here, but not too bad. Power head looks really good. So here's the vertical drive shaft, and what I'm doing right now is I've got it supported in this container to try to keep this vertical, and what I've been doing is putting some PV blaster down the drive shaft. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to get this penetrant to work its way into the splines on that power head. And what I'll do is I'll tap on it with a hammer periodically. I'm gonna come in here over the next several weeks, and I'll start tapping on it with a brass hammer, trying to shock it loose a little bit. And then what I'm gonna ultimately do, if that doesn't work, is I'm gonna make a puller for this. So I'm gonna fabricate up a puller. And what I'll do is I'll show you in the videos that are in the future, the puller that I'm gonna design. I've already got it figured out in my head, and I'm gonna put that on here and then see if I can't pull this vertical drive shaft out of the crankshaft. I'm very hopeful that I'll be successful, being that the engine still is in really good condition. They're lightweight. The 7.5 is a lighter engine. It's not as heavy as a 4-stroke engine would be. Even today, they're heavier. They're getting better, but still, this guy likes this engine. He's had it for quite a while. So, project continues, and we'll see you in the next video when I get the puller all built, and I'll install it if needs be. If it does come out through tapping on it, I'll show you that. And then if it does come out, then I'll show you putting it back together. All right. So if you like this first video, hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you in the future one.